Introduction. The 1% code that rewrites reality. The most dangerous knowledge is rarely dangerous because it contains a secret formula. It is dangerous because it removes an excuse. Once you see how attention, interpretation, identity, and repeated action cooperate to shape experience, you can no longer explain every pattern as something imposed entirely from outside. This episode examines the ideas often hidden beneath the phrase forbidden metaphysics, separating useful inner principles from exaggerated promises. You will explore the observer, correspondence, mental causation, and the disciplined testing of belief. The 1% code is not proof that you are superior to other people. It is the willingness to carry a degree of responsibility that most minds avoid. The bonfire of truth. Campo de' Fiori, Rome. A man burns at the stake. His name is Giordano Bruno. His crime was not to kill, nor to steal, nor to betray a king. His crime was to think. This is the Codex of the Silenced. It is the compilation of Gnostic, Hermetic, and Alchemical wisdom that has been systematically persecuted, erased, and ridiculed over the last 2 millennia. Why so much effort to hide this? Why were the Cathars exterminated in the south of France? Why was the Library of Alexandria reduced to ashes? Why were the Templars hunted like animals? The answer is terrifying in its simplicity. Because this knowledge makes you ungovernable. The system, call it the Matrix, call it society, call it the Great Illusion, functions under a basic premise. You are small, you are a victim, and you need intermediaries to connect with the divine or to change your fate. You need a priest, a politician, a doctor, an expert. Forbidden metaphysics breaks that chain. It tells you that there are no intermediaries. It tells you that reality is not something that happens to you, but something you do. It tells you that the universe is mental and that you are the dreamer who sustains the dream. Throughout the coming chapters, we are going to rescue these principles from the shadows. We will not speak of modern science, but of high mental magic. We will speak of alchemy, not as the search for physical gold, but as the transmutation of your dense emotions into pure power. We will speak of the word not as grammar, but as the source code. We will speak of the word as the code that programs matter. You will have to assume the throne of your own existence, and for the human ego accustomed to the comfort of complaining, that is more painful than physical fire. If you are looking for comfort, close this book. But if you are looking for the key that was lost centuries ago, if you feel in your bones that the world they sold you is a cardboard model, and that there is something real and powerful beating behind the veil, then welcome. The flames of the Inquisition have gone out. The ashes have cooled, but the voice of the silenced continues to whisper. It is time to consider what they had to say. Chapter 1. The Veil of Maya. Awaken. It is not a polite request. It is an order. What you are seeing right now, the room you are in, the page before you, your own hands, is a lie. A sophisticated, persistent, and terribly convincing lie designed eons ago to keep an infinite consciousness trapped in a finite experience. Throughout history, from the banks of the Ganges to the deserts of Egypt, through the caves of hermits in Tibet, the men and women who managed to see behind the stage reached the same terrifying conclusion: the physical world is not solid. The physical world is a theater of shadows. Ancient sages of India called it Maya, the great cosmic illusion. The Gnostics, persecuted to extinction, called it the error or the prison of matter. Plato described it as a dark cave, where prisoners chained since birth only saw shadows of reality, projected on the wall by an invisible fire, believing those dark spots were the real world. You are that prisoner. And this chapter is the first hammer blow against the chains that bind you to the wall. To understand forbidden metaphysics, you must first accept the most difficult premise of all. Nothing your eyes see is the truth. Your eyes are not windows to the world. They are biological senses programmed to hide 99% of reality from you, the architecture of sensory deception. Let us begin by dismantling the tool you trust most, your senses. You have been taught to believe in the saying, seeing is believing. But the masters of occult knowledge have always taught the opposite. If you see it with the eyes of the flesh, it is because it is already past. It is because it is already dead. It is because it is a shell. Your physical senses are not designed to show you the truth. They are designed for survival in a hostile environment. Your eye only captures a ridiculous strip of the electromagnetic spectrum. You do not see radiation. You do not see radio waves. You do not see heat. You do not see the vital energy that emanates from plants and living beings. When you touch a table, you feel solidity. Your brain tells you this is hard. Matter is not touched. Matter is not things. Matter is energy condensed into a slow vibration. Why is this important? Why did initiates risk their lives for this knowledge? It is made of smoke, it is made of light, and smoke can be dispersed with a breath. Light can be redirected with a mirror. The first step of the magician, of the true metaphysician, is to stop respecting matter. You must lose respect for reality. We are the characters in his dream. But the great esoteric revelation, that for which they burned Giordano Bruno, is that you are not just the dreamed character, you are also the dreamer. The great collective hallucination works because we have all agreed at a deep subconscious level to dream the same dream. We call this consensus. We agree that the sky is blue. It is a projection of your own mind. You can turn the dragon into a butterfly, or you can wake up. The veil of Maya is that dream, but on a scale so dense and shared that we have forgotten we are sleeping. Forbidden metaphysics is the art of becoming lucid within the waking dream. You are the landscape, you are the weather, and you are the plot. Everything comes out of your own head. In physical reality, the same thing happens. The guardians of the veil, Archons and egregor. Here we enter dangerous territory. Territory that the Gnostics stepped on and for which they paid with blood. If reality is an illusion, who maintains the illusion? Why is it so hard to wake up? Your hate feeds the system. Every time you react emotionally to the shadows on the wall, news, crisis, drama, you are handing over your power to the guardians of the veil. You are giving them your consent for the nightmare to continue. Forbidden metaphysics teaches us that the only way to defeat the Archons, to pierce the veil, is not to fight them because the fight generates more emotional energy, but to starve them. Divine indifference, neutral observation. But we decided to play at limitation. We decided to lower the frequency, to densify ourselves. We wanted to experience what it felt to forget who we were. We wanted to feel risk, pain, surprise. The Veil of Maya was originally a voluntary game, a diving suit to submerge into dense matter. When you die, you turn off. The universe does not know you exist. This idea is the cement that holds the prison walls. It makes you feel small, helpless, insignificant. But quantum physics, in an ironic twist of fate, has begun to crack the veil from within. You are inside because you believe you are inside. Breaking the spell, the first initiation. How is the veil torn in practice? It is not an intellectual process. It is not enough to read this book and nod your head. You will understand why the enlightened ones smile in the face of death, because they know they are not dying. They are only waking up from a very long and very strange dream. Chapter 2. The Sleeping God. The Mental Origin. In the silence that precedes the first breath of the morning before your name, your debts and your fears flood your consciousness. There is a moment, a very brief moment, almost imperceptible, in which you simply are. You are not John nor Mary. You are not a lawyer, nor a mother, nor sick, nor poor. You are simply presence, a pure consciousness without form, without history, floating in the void. That moment is the crack through which the most dangerous truth of all slips. The truth for which pharaohs built labyrinthine tombs. The truth that the Gnostics whispered in caves under threat of death. The truth the Church tried to crush with iron and fire for millennia. The truth is this: there is no God up there. There is a God in there, and that God is asleep. You are not a creature made of clay to whom the breath of life was given by divine charity. That is the story for children, for the uninitiated, to keep the herd docile within the pen. The hidden teaching, the major arcana, is that you are the mind. You are the mind that is dreaming your own life. You do not live in the universe lives in you. To understand the scope of your power and the magnitude of your amnesia, we must return to the primal source, to ancient Egypt, to the mythical figure of Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great. In the Cybelian, a text that condenses the wisdom that survived the burning of Alexandria, the first and most important principle is the all is mind. The universe is mental. It does not say that the universe has a mind. It does not say that the universe thinks. It says that the universe is mind. Matter, energy, time, space, all are condensed thoughts. Just as ice is frozen water and steam is hot water, matter is simply frozen mind. What does this mean for you, the seeker reading this codex? It means that you are not walking on solid ground. Your imagination is not a childish fantasy. Your imagination is the workshop of God. It is the tool with which the Creator molds the mental substance of the universe to create physical reality. Imagine for a moment that you are a being of infinite light. You have no form. You began to truly suffer. You began to fear the death of the avatar, forgetting that the player is immortal. The sleeping God is that part of you, deep, silent, and eternal. It is the part that observes your life behind your eyes. It is the one who listens to your thoughts. The ego is the artificial intelligence of your biological suit. Its only function is to keep the body alive. And to keep it alive, it relies on fear. The ego loves separation. It loves mine and yours. The result is anxiety, stress, depression, and chaos. Forbidden metaphysics teaches us that we must not kill the ego. While you have a body, what we must do is dethrone it. We must awaken the legitimate king consciousness. We awaken the king so the ego returns to its natural place, being a faithful servant, an advisor, but never the king. Most human beings use their divine power, imagination, to create their own hell. Worry is using your imagination to visualize what you don't want. It is praying for what you fear. You sit and begin to imagine, what if I am fired? What if I get sick? What if they leave me? It is an activation formula. It is the source code of reality. Every time you say I am, you are invoking the name of God and giving it a direction. I am is the subject. What you put after is the predicate, the sentence. That is the awakening of the sleeping God. There is a reason why the human being flees from this truth. There is a reason why we prefer to believe in an external God, or in luck, or in fate. We flee because if the sleeping God is me, then I have no one to blame. If I am the creator of my reality, the fault is mine. You no longer beg for love or attention. You become a sun. The sun does not ask to be warmed. The sun does not ask for light. The awakened God needs nothing from the world. If you want to change your world, you have to change the internal conversation of the God within you. You have to change what you tell yourself in the silence of your room. You have to change what you imagine before sleeping. There in the darkness of your skull is where wars are won or lost. There is where fortunes are made. You begin to have moments of lucidity, moments in which you look at the world and do not feel fear, but a strange and deep compassion. You feel a compassion like that of an adult watching children play. Moments in which you know with a certainty that chills your blood that everything is going to turn out well, because you have decided that it turns out well. Chapter 3. Relentless certainty. The mechanism of faith. True faith, the kind that moved mountains in ancient texts, the kind that walked on water, is not a passive emotion. It is a mechanical force. It is a law of physics, as real and brutal as gravity. Gravity does not ask if you are a good person before pulling you to the ground. Faith, which we shall call relentless certainty, works the same way. It is not a divine gift. It is a mechanism of focus. It is the art of freezing the fluid energy of the universe into a solid form through the constant pressure of undoubting observation. The physics of the mold. The universe is liquid. Imagine that the universe around you is not empty space, but an ocean of invisible, dense, and fluid substance. Ancient alchemists called it the ether. Modern scientists call it the quantum field. The name does not matter. This substance is plastic. It responds to pressure. By default, the ether takes the form of your deepest beliefs. If you believe life is hard, the ether hardens and offers you resistance. If you believe money flows, the ether liquefies and offers you resources. The problem of the average human being is that their mental mold is unstable. One day you believe you will succeed. You create a mold of success. The next day you are afraid. You break the mold and create one of failure. On the third day you have hope. You create a weak mold full of holes. The ether, confused by these contradictory instructions, remains in a state of chaos or simply repeats the default pattern of your past karma. Relentless certainty is the ability to hold the mental mold motionless against the pressure of physical reality. It is saying this is so. Not it will be so, not I want it to be so. Not please let it be so. But it is so when you reach that state of internal coldness of absolute conviction. The universe has no choice. It has no free will to deny you anything. The ether must fill the mold you hold. It is a hydraulic law. We were taught that this was a good thing. The Codex teaches us that it was the final curse. Because hope implies absence, you only hope for what you do not have. If you have the keys to your house in your hand, you do not have hope of having them. Even if his physical hands are still empty, this distinction is the razor that separates initiates from dreamers. Though his senses tell him otherwise, the initiate dwells in the frequency of having, the collapse of the wave, the look of Medusa. There is a Greek myth that contains a hidden scientific truth, Medusa. Anyone who looked Medusa in the eyes turned to stone. Human consciousness has the power of Medusa. You refuse to acknowledge evidence that contradicts your desire. If your bank account is at zero, but you have decreed wealth, you do not look at the zero with emotion. You look at it as a temporary error on the screen, a glitch that will correct itself because your internal reality says millionaire. Holding that gaze before the abyss requires a courage that few have, but it is the only way. The paradox of evidence, walking on water. The Codex tells us the evidence of the senses is the final test. The universe is going to test you. When you decree a change, the old reality will often scream louder before dying. It is the death rattle of the beast. If you get scared and believe in the beast, you give it life again. It is about tuning the present to that parallel reality. How does it is done feel? It feels like relief. This is the secret key that many masters forget to teach. Faith does not feel like an electrical tension. Oh, that patient was cured with a sugar pill because they believed it was medicine. It's just the placebo. Just stop to think about what that means. It means that the pure belief of a person, without any external chemical agent, was able to synthesize endogenous medicines, repair tissues, kill bacteria, and reverse chronic diseases. The sugar pill was only the permission the patient gave to themselves to use their own power. It is the voice of the guardian of the veil. The intellect functions by analyzing the past. It only knows what has already happened. Therefore, it cannot predict or accept anything new. For the intellect, the miracle is an offense. If you want to learn a language, you move to the country. If you want to learn faith, you move to the state of the wish fulfilled. This means surrounding yourself mentally and physically with the frequency of your desire. It means stop talking about your problems. Talking about problems is faith in problems. It will crack the mold. Social pressure is the #1 killer of magic. The Codex commands, keep your vision in secret, incubate it in the silence of your inner temple, do not seek external validation. But remember, an imposter is only someone who is rehearsing a new role until they become it. Fake it until you are it. Decree until you believe it. Because the word charged with certainty does not return void. Chapter 4. The inner pattern behind outer repetition. The hidden scribe mastering the shadow. Why, if you are a god in potential, do you still live like a beggar? Because there is a traitor in your own house. Because while your conscious mind, the captain, shouts orders of wealth and freedom from the bridge, there is someone in the engine room who is not listening. There is a silent, blind, and terribly powerful entity that holds the real controls of the ship. And that entity has its own orders. Ancient orders. Orders that you did not give it. In the esoteric tradition, this entity has been called many things. The guardian of the threshold, the double, the golem. Modern psychology calls it the subconscious. We in this Codex will call it by its true metaphysical function, the hidden scribe. The scribe is in charge of projecting the movie of your life. You, the sleeping god, may want to see a movie of adventure and romance, but if the scribe holds a reel of horror and drama, that is what will be projected on the world screen no matter how much you scream or pray. Mastering the scribe is the great work. Without this, all spirituality is just an intellectual hobby. The nature of the golem, power without judgment. To understand the scribe, you must imagine a giant of infinite strength, but with the intelligence of a tape recorder. The scribe does not think. He does not judge. He has no sense of humor. And, most importantly, He does not distinguish between the real and the imaginary. This is his fatal weakness and your greatest advantage. The scribe is a perfect servant, but a terrible master. If you tell him with emotion, "I am stupid," the scribe does not understand it is a joke or an expression of frustration. He simply notes in the book of life. The master says he is stupid. Order received. Execute stupidity program. Attract situations that make him feel stupid. Block his intelligence at critical moments. And he does it with military efficiency. The scribe controls 95% of your life. You have to defeat him by hacking him. The virus of origin, the black ink. Where did the scribe get the orders he is executing right now? If you want to be rich, why does the scribe project scarcity? Because the scribe was programmed when you were helpless. These notes are not memories. They are operating commands. They are the source code with which your current reality is built. You are living your parents' life, not yours. You are repeating the fears of your ancestors. The scribe is loyal to the clan, not to you. Out of biological loyalty, he repeats the patterns of the pack to guarantee survival. If my parents survived being poor and fearful, I must be poor and fearful to survive. This is the generational curse spoken of in sacred texts. It is not divine punishment. That is why you have no power to manifest. Because 80% of your energy is spent on not being you. It is spent on maintaining the mask of a good and normal person that society demands of you. Forbidden metaphysics demands an act of supreme courage. Opening the basement door, the basement. How do we rewrite the scribe's book? It is no use speaking to him in Spanish or English. The scribe does not understand intellectual words. He does not understand no. If you say, "I do not want to be sick," the scribe ignores the no. It is the security filter that prevents any new idea from entering the system. It is the one that says, "That is a lie, that is not logical, that is impossible." If you try to make affirmations during the day when you are fully awake, beta waves, your affirmations hit the critical factor and bounce off. You say, "I am a millionaire," the critical factor says lie. Deceive the scribe in the darkness. If you manage to fall asleep with the feeling of the desire fulfilled, the scribe will work for 8 hours straight to materialize that while you rest. It is the most efficient form of magic, the technique of revision, the eraser of the past. Neville Goddard taught a technique for the scribe that defies temporal logic. Your posture changes, your voice changes. People start treating you differently. You have altered the timeline from the root, the imposter syndrome, and the death of the ego. When you begin to rewrite the scribe, you are going to feel something very unpleasant. You are going to feel fake. But the initiate withstands the pressure. He knows that this feeling of falseness is only temporary. It is like putting on new shoes. At first they pinch and feel strange, but if you walk enough in them, they take the shape of your foot and become your new skin. This will cost you friends. They will call you weird. It is the price of freedom. They are defending their right to be victims. You are defending your right to direct your own life. Your job is to hold the faith during the delay. If you can maintain the new vibration, when the external world shows you the opposite, you have mastered the scribe. You have mastered time. Chapter 5. Cause, meaning, and the limits of certainty. The language of the birds. In the beginning, all sacred traditions say it was not the light, it was the word, and God said. It does not say, and God thought. It does not say, and God desired. It says that God spoke. The Big Bang for modern physics was not an explosion of fire. It was an explosion of frequency, a primordial sound, a cosmic M that still resonates in the background radiation of the universe, organizing chaos into stars and galaxies. You, as a fractal of that God, possess the same mechanism. Your throat is a dimensional portal. It is the only organ of the body capable of launching a vibration from the inner world toward the outer world. But like the sleeping God, you have forgotten how to use this technology. You have degraded the word to chatter. You use your magic wand, the tongue, to describe reality, to complain about it, to gossip about it. And you do not realize that by doing so, you are hexing your own life so that it remains small, miserable, and noisy. Forbidden metaphysics teaches us the language of the birds, an alchemical term that does not refer to talking with animals, but to speaking the language of high frequency, the language that matter understands and obeys. It is time to learn to close your mouth to accumulate power and to open it only to emit decrees. to make decrees that shake the foundations of your reality, the physics of the spell, cymatics and frequency. To understand why your word is law, you must first understand that matter is deaf to human words, but it is extremely sensitive to vibration. There is a science called cymatics. If you take a metal plate, put sand on it, and apply a sound frequency, the sand ceases to be a chaotic heap. It creates perfect geometric mandalas. It creates shapes of flowers, stars, galaxies. If you change the sound, the shape changes instantly. If you turn off the sound, the shape collapses and returns to chaos. If you get up in the morning and say, "I am dead tired," you have just cast a spell of fatigue over your cells. They hear the vibration and obey, lowering your immune system. If you say, "I never have money," you cast a spell of poverty. The ether contracts and pushes away opportunities. If you say all men and women are the same, you cast a spell of loneliness, ensuring that you only meet people who confirm your decree. The universe does not understand jokes. It is called verbal incontinence. It is a hemorrhage of power. When you have a great project, a great idea, or a great desire, and you run to tell your friend, your mother, or your partner, you feel momentary relief. You feel how good I've shared it already. That relief is the pressure escaping. And as we saw before, emotion is the fuel. When you complain about traffic, you are praying for more traffic. When you complain about your boss, you are anchoring that boss in your reality. You are saying this boss is real. He is powerful, and he has control over me. You are connecting with them through an invisible and dirty thread. You are bringing their vibration into your field. If you talk about how bad someone is, you are inviting that evil to enter your house. Furthermore, you are scattering your focus. The sleeping god you has a limited amount of daily attention. The ether, the base formula is I am. As we saw in chapter 2, I am is the name of God in action. But here we are going to add tone. It is not what you say, it is the frequency with which you say it. You can say, "I am rich" with a trembling voice, hoping it is not a lie. The universe smells your fear. At first you will feel like an actor, but continue. Turn up the volume. Feel how the vibration hits the walls. There will come a moment when you will feel a click, you will feel a chill. Gratitude is the seal that closes the decree. The danger of idle words. Jesus, the great metaphysical master, warned that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. This is not a religious threat. It is a technical warning. If a word does not build, does not heal, or does not reveal truth, it must not come out. It is better to appear mute and wise than to speak and confirm that you are a foolish creator of misfortunes. The secret name of things. In alchemy, it is said that knowing the true name of something gives you power over it. In the language of the birds, this means renaming your reality. By changing the name, you change the emotion. By changing the emotion, you change the vibration. And by changing the vibration, you change the result. Do not let the world label your life. You are the one who applies the labels. The invisible sound wave sweeps away everything that is not the truth. Chapter 6. Alchemical Fire. Emotional Transmutation. You have been taught in hundreds of self-help books and religious sermons that to be a high being you must be Zen. You must be in perpetual calm. You must smile, be kind, repress your dark instincts, and always vibrate in love and light. The Codex of the Silence tells you that is a lie designed to castrate you. A human being who only knows passive peace is harmless, and reality does not obey the harmless. Magic is not an art of pacifist monks. It is an art of alchemical warriors. To move the heavy machinery of the universe, to bend timelines and materialize empires from nothing, you need nuclear energy. And that energy is not found in the lukewarmness of comfort. It is found in the places you have been forbidden to visit, in your anger, in your sexual desire, in your fear, and in your pain. Welcome to the alchemist's laboratory. Here we reject nothing. Here we judge nothing as bad. Here we take the heavy lead of your densest emotions, and through alchemical fire, we turn it into the pure gold of manifested reality. Prepare to be burned. The myth of high vibe, the trap of repression. Let's begin by destroying the concept of low vibration as understood by the masses. They tell you that anger is low vibration, that fear is low vibration. This is a childish simplification. Anger is not low. It is like coal, dirty to the touch, but capable of generating immense heat if ignited. Peace, on the contrary, is subtle. It is like steam. If you want to move a locomotive, what do you prefer? A cloud of dispersed steam or a ton of burning coal? The problem is not the negative emotion. The problem is repression. Society has domesticated you. It has taught you that shouting is rude, that desiring sex is dirty, that crying is for the weak, and that having ambition is for the greedy. So you have taken all those volcanic forces and pushed them down into the basement of the hidden scribe. But physics is clear. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. What you repress does not disappear. Repressed anger becomes depression or illness. Repressed desire becomes perversion or neurosis. Repressed fear becomes chronic anxiety. The alchemist does not repress. He understands that emotion is simply emotion, energy in motion. Electricity can electrocute you, or it can light up a city. It depends on how you channel it, not on the electricity itself. If you reject your own darkness, you are throwing away half of your fuel. You are trying to fly a plane with half a tank. The Athanor, your body as a furnace. When they feel anger, they vomit it by shouting at someone. When they feel pain, they numb it with alcohol, food, or distraction, energy blockage. You must learn to feel the emotion with brutal intensity, but without letting it escape through the usual channels. You must feel the fire burning you inside, and instead of opening the exhaust valve, you must use that pressure to push your desire toward the ether. It is a roar, it is a breaking of chains. Anger is the energy that sets limits. It is the energy that defines territory. Without anger, you have no borders. Feel your hands tighten, and now visualize your goal. Visualize the life you want, and use that fury to inject power into the image. Mentally say, with this force, I destroy my poverty. The fire of anger burns the obstacles. Use it to demolish the walls that separate you from your desire. Fuel 2, iOS, Sexual Alchemy. Here we enter the most protected secret of the occult lodges, the arcanum of sexuality. It is the only energy capable of creating life. He directs that tension toward his brain, his project, his vision. An artist working with sexual frustration creates masterpieces. An entrepreneur who channels his libido into his business becomes magnetic and unstoppable. This does not mean forced celibacy. It means that in the moment of climax, you must visualize your desire. A strange phenomenon occurs. The small self has been annihilated by pain, and what remains is crystalline clarity. Many millionaires became rich after total bankruptcy. Pain burns the silliness. When someone who has suffered and overcome speaks, everyone listens. Their word has density. The technique of implosion. Now that you know the fuels, how is the mix made? The process is emotional implosion. Look at it as what it is. Pure energy, vibrating electrical current. Step 2, hermetic containment. Visualize your body as an unbreakable glass vessel. Do not let the energy out. Instead of fearing bad days, wait for them eagerly. Because a bad day is a day with a lot of energy available to be stolen and used for your purpose. The heart is a magnetic transformer. All this process occurs under the supervision of the heart. Not the romantic heart, but the heart as an electromagnetic generator. The magnetic field of the heart is 5,000 times more powerful than the brain's. It is like electricity. It does not care if you turn on a lamp or an electric chair. If you use your transmuted anger to wish ill on another, it will work. Chapter 7. The universe is a room of mirrors. What you launch returns. If you use alchemical fire to destroy, you will burn yourself first because the fire is born in you. The wise alchemist uses fire to build. He uses anger against injustice to build justice. He never attacks people. People are puppets of their programs. They don't deserve your precious energy. Now that you know your emotion is gold, you will understand why the system tries to steal it. News is designed to get anger and fear out of you. Social networks are designed to get envy and desire out of you. They are extraction machines. They want you to fire your emotional energy against the screen, so you stay empty and docile. The metaphysician practices imperturbability. It does not mean he doesn't feel. It means he doesn't react mechanically. You choose when and why you get emotional. If you see terrible news, you refuse to give it your fear. You keep the energy, transmute it, and use it to bless your own life or to really help, but not to worry. Your emotional energy is your investment capital. Do not spend it on other people's dramas, on internet political arguments, or on trying to change people who do not want to change. Every Graham is a brick. Chapter 7. The Labyrinth of Mirrors. You do not live in a world of solid objects and independent people. You live in a labyrinth of mirrors. Every person, every situation, every obstacle, and every stroke of luck is a perfectly polished mirror that returns an exact image of what you carry inside. Not what you say you carry, your pretty decrees, but what you truly carry. Your subconscious vibration, your shadow, your hidden fears. If you do not understand the law of the mirror, you will spend your life fighting your own reflection. You will break your fists hitting the glass, believing you are fighting an enemy, when in reality you are only fighting a projected version of yourself. Welcome to the room of truth. Here there are no victims. There are only creators facing their own creation. The mechanics of the echo. The universe is neutral. To understand karma and cause and effect, you must first strip these concepts of all religious morality. Karma is not an old man with a white beard noting your sins to punish you. Karma is not divine revenge. Is the canyon punishing you for having anger? The canyon is neutral. It is a bounce mechanism. If you shout, "I love you," the echo returns, "I love you." The universe is that canyon. It is an impersonal system of automatic response. They are actors hired by your hidden scribe to represent the script you wrote. If you, deep in your subconscious basement, believe that I am not worthy of love, your partner has no choice. They must treat you with coldness, or deceive you, or abandon you. They do not do it because they are a bad person. They do it because your vibration forces them to act that way, to confirm your belief. The cycle works like this. You have a subconscious fear of poverty. An unexpected bill arrives, or you lose a client. You see the effect. It is a dead shadow. It does not define me. My current reality is wealth. If you manage not to react to the bad reflection, you cut the cycle. You stop feeding the echo, and the sound eventually dies. The mirror delay, the test of faith. He waters the earth with faith and emotion, and waits knowing the harvest is inevitable. You must ignore the current mirror in order to create the future mirror, the projected shadow judgment. There is a quick way to know what you need to heal in yourself. Look at what irritates you most in others. You must observe the world with clinical neutrality. Forgiveness as liberation technology. Here we reach the most powerful tool to clean the mirror. Forgiveness, but not the religious, moralistic, and weak forgiveness they taught you. Forgive your enemies because it is for good Christians. There is only an eternally recycled past. If you want to manifest something new, you have to let go of the old. You cannot grab the gold if your hands are full of burning coal. The technique of revision, cleaning the rearview mirror. We return to Neville Goddard's technique because in the labyrinth of mirrors it is vital. The mirror of abundance, the gratitude. If complaining perpetuates the mirror of scarcity, gratitude creates the mirror of abundance. But again, we talk about technical gratitude. It is not giving thanks for politeness. It is the recognition that you already have. Thank that your lungs breathe without effort. The loneliness of the Creator. Understanding the labyrinth of mirrors carries an existential loneliness at first. You realize that no one does anything to you. You realize that your parents, your friends, and your enemies were only reflections of your own states of consciousness at different moments in your life. You love out of recognition. I love you because you are me in another suit. Relationships cease to be battlefields and become sacred dances of self-discovery. Chapter 8. Eternity in an instant breaking time. The last great lie. The final cage that keeps the sleeping god dreaming that he is a limited mortal is linear time. You have been taught that life is a straight line. You are born at point A, walk toward point B. Success, love, old age, and die at point C. You have been taught that the past is an immovable slab you carry on your back, and that the future is a promised land that you might with luck and effort reach one day. The Codex of the Silence destroys this line. The ancient initiates from the mysteries of Eleusis to the lamas of Tibet knew the truth. Time is not a line, it is a point. There is no before, there is no after. Only the eternal now exists. Everything that has occurred, Everything that is occurring and everything that will occur is happening simultaneously in this precise instant in different frequencies of reality. If you manage to break the spell of the stopwatch, if you manage to step out of horizontality and enter verticality, you will stop waiting. And when you stop waiting, you begin to have welcome to the dimension where the clock stops and magic begins. The tyranny of Chronos, the illusion of the river. The Greeks had two words for time, a distinction that modernity has forgotten to its own misfortune. The first is Chronos. It is the time of the clock. It is the time that kills you. It is the time that ages you. It is the time of waiting. Chronos is the god who devoured his own children. And that is exactly what linear time does to you. It devours your moments, turning them into ashes of the past before you can savor them. In the world of Chronos, manifestation is slow. You have to plant, wait, water, wait, grow, wait. It is the world of delayed cause and effect. The time lag we spoke of in the previous chapter. The majority of humanity lives as slaves to Chronos. They live crushed by the guilt of what they did yesterday and the anxiety of what they will do tomorrow. They are never here. But another time exists, the time of magicians, poets, and gods. The universe block everything already exists. Modern physics reluctantly has reached a conclusion that validates the hermetic vision, the block universe. Imagine a loaf of bread. If you cut a slice, that is the present, but the rest of the loaf, the past and the future, is already baked. The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. I will be happy when I have the house. I will feel secure when I have the money. I will love myself when I lose weight. That when is the death trap. By projecting your satisfaction into the future, you are declaring that in the present you are incomplete. Your current problem is only a distant memory. And yes, I remember when I was worried about that, but everything turned out fine. In a state of deep meditation, mental silence, visualize a bridge of light. On the other side of the bridge, you see your future self. Observe how he walks, how he dresses, how he smiles. The past is not fixed. The past as it exists in your mind is only a memory trace. It is a neural circuit that you fire over and over again. Every time you remember a traumatic event, you are recreating it chemically in your body. You are bringing it to the patterns of failure are broken. You have altered the timeline. You have returned to the future, your present being a new person. Imagine time not as a single road, but as an infinite highway with millions of lanes. You put on the suit of the rich self. You walk like him. You speak like him. You treat money like him without fear. At first, it will seem like you are pretending. She doesn't cry asking if the baby is real. She prepares the room. She takes care of herself. She is waiting in the linear time of 9 months. But she is not waiting in the sense of doubt. You are in a traffic jam. You are in the hospital. The time Chronos crushes you, close your eyes, breathe, and say, "This moment is the only moment." The past has no power here. The future has no power here. Those are problems of the universe, the scribe, the ether. Your work, your only work, is the what, the desire, and the who, your identity. You define what you want and who you are. I am rich, and you let the great architect take care of the when and the how. If you try to control the how, I have to win the lottery or I have to get that specific promotion. Make it so familiar, so daily, so boring even that your brain stops seeing it as a fantasy and starts treating it as a fait accompli. What is familiar to the mind manifests in life. What is extraordinary or distant to the mind stays far away. Bring the future to the neighborhood of the familiar. Become friends with your destiny. Chapter 9. The Fall of the Archons. Energetic sovereignty. You should feel free. You should feel light, and yet you feel it, don't you? You feel a viscous resistance. You feel that every time you try to rise, something pulls you down. You feel that the outside world suddenly becomes noisier, more chaotic and more demanding, just when you decide to seek peace. G is not a coincidence, and it is not bad luck. It is the immune system of the matrix reacting to a virus, and the virus is you. You who have decided to stop being a battery to become a creator. The ancient Gnostics, those rebel mystics who were persecuted to extinction in the first centuries of our era, left a terrifying warning. They left written in the Nag Hammadi CD. The material universe is not just a school, It is a farm. And on a farm, the livestock is not there to be happy. It is there to be milked. You are not at the top of the energetic food chain. There are things above you. Invisible entities, mechanical forces, soulless intelligences. They eat your fear, they eat your anger, they eat your insatiable desire, they eat your blind worship. They are the Archons, the rulers. And this chapter is your declaration of independence, the human farm, the food of the gods. To understand sovereignty, you must first understand slavery. Every living being needs to feed. Animals eat plants or other animals. What do the inorganic beings eat that inhabit the subtle dimensions surrounding the earth? They eat a substance that Robert Monroe called looch. Looch is distilled human emotional energy, but not just any emotion. Pure joy, unconditional love and creative peace are frequencies too high, too light and volatile for these dense entities. They are like helium. The Archons need heavy emotions, dense emotions that stick to the ground. Suffering, terror, anguish, obsessive lust, fanaticism, war. That is their caviar. Look at the world around you. Look at the news. Look at the economic structure. Look at religions based on guilt. Look at the entertainment system based on violence and drama. Does it seem to you that the world is designed for human happiness? It is designed for the maximum generation of stress. When you wake up and look at your phone and see a terrible news item, you have just served breakfast. When you fight with your partner over a trifle and spend 3 days bitter, you have just served lunch. When you feel guilty for something you did 10 years ago, you have just served dinner. You are a rechargeable battery that is voluntarily emptying itself to keep a parasitic system alive. The egregore, the pendulums of power. They tell you, if you don't worry about this, you are irresponsible. If you don't fight for this cause, you are a bad person. They manipulate you morally so that you connect to the extraction cable. Energetic sovereignty begins when you realize that no side is your friend. All sides want your energy. You must listen to your mind and say, that thought is not mine, I am the one who listens, not the one who speaks. That is an attempt at harvest. When you identify the voice of the predator, it loses its power. The parasite only works if you believe that he is you. If you see him as a parasite, you can stop feeding him. If someone insults you, do not react. The insult is a hook to pull your energy. If you do not bite the hook, the fisherman leaves. If the pendulum pushes you and you are empty, the pendulum passes through the void and loses inertia. This grey rock attitude, being boring to predators, is your shield for the system. I do not consent to be food. I do not consent to useless suffering. I do not consent to the manipulation of fear. I declare my energetic space as sovereign territory. I close my doors to everything that is not love, truth, and freedom. And to survive, they need to steal the energy of others. They are plugs looking for a socket, and you are a very attractive battery. When you start to wake up, these vampires will draw closer. They will feel your glow. Family tells you that you are guilty if you do not meet their expectations. Guilt is a mechanism of infinite debt, and because you owe, you have to pay with your suffering. The Archon feeds on your remorse. The Codex declares, guilt is a lie, but it can also feel like a void. You no longer have the rush of the adrenaline of conflict. You no longer have the validation of the herd. You are alone in your sovereignty. It is the silence of the desert. You become an enlightened tyrant. The best way to wake others up is not to shout in their ear. It is to shine. Be so free, so happy, so abundant, and so sovereign that they look at you and ask, what are you taking? I want some of that. If you can look into the abyss of your own infinite responsibility and smile, you have won. They cannot touch a sovereign. They become mere background shadows, irrelevant like flies that buzz but do not bite. Chapter 10. The Door of No Return. Conscious immortality. The system, the matrix, the Archons, has many tools of control, money, status, pleasure, but its master tool, the whip with which it keeps the herd inside the pen, is the fear of death. They tell you that death is the end, that it is annihilation, or even worse, that it is a judgment, where an external God will decide your fate. They tell you, behave, pay your taxes, do not rebel, and perhaps you will have a good death. The fear of non-existence is the shackle that prevents you from living with audacity. The Codex of the Silence destroys this fear. Death is not a system error. It is not a medical tragedy. It is not an end. Death is a transition technology. It is the door of no return. And what awaits you on the other side does not depend on luck or mercy. It depends on your level of consciousness. If you die as a sleeping slave, you will be recycled. If you die as an awakened sovereign, you will be free. Welcome to the last lesson. We are going to learn how to die so that we can begin to live. The diving suit and the ocean. Let us start with the obvious. What medical science sees but does not understand. Your body is not you. Your body is a biological suit, a diving suit of flesh and bone designed to operate in the density of the third dimension. You need a robust vehicle to navigate here. When a diver goes down into the depths of the ocean, they need a heavy suit with lead and oxygen hoses. While underwater, the diver seems clumsy, slow, and heavy. But when the mission ends, the diver rises to the surface. They take off the helmet, they take off the lead, and suddenly they breathe pure air. They move with freedom. They remember they are not a marine creature. They are a creature of the surface. Death is simply the act of taking off the diving suit. The problem is that most human beings have spent so much time underwater that they believe they are the suit. They believe that when the suit rusts, they will cease to exist. They cry for the suit. They spend fortunes trying to patch the suit. The initiate in the Codex practices radical disidentification. They look at their hand and say, "This is my tool, not my being." They look at their face in the mirror and say, "This is my mask, not my face." They know that the sleeping god is the occupant. The occupant is indestructible. You realize you have been living in a dark room and someone just turned on the sun. This intermediate state is called the Bordo. It is a zone of psychic transit. And here is where the destiny of your soul is played. Because the bow is mental. The white light trap, the recycling. Here we enter the darkest secret of Gnosticism, a secret that challenges the New Age narrative of going toward the light. It is said that upon dying, a tunnel appears with a bright and loving white light at the end. Often you see deceased relatives or religious figures calling you with love. When the projection of light appears, the sovereign stops. He is not afraid, but he does not obey. He recognizes they are holographic projections of the matrix. He says, "No, I do not consent. I no longer need to learn through suffering." You have to build it. It is built with accumulated consciousness. Every time you became conscious of yourself in life, you added a brick to that body. Every time you did not react mechanically, every time you observed your thoughts, every time you remembered I am, you strengthened your immortal vehicle. Most people, the living dead, the zombies of the system, do not have a formed light body. Let go of your roles. I am no longer the boss, nor the father, nor the husband. Let go of your possessions. Nothing in this house is mine. Let go of your body. As you prepare to depart, a question arises. What do you leave here? The system tells you to leave money, statues, children, or books. But the Codex says the only thing you leave is your vibratory signature. Every thought, every emotion, and every act you have had has left a trace in the ether of the earth. But the truth is that you have never been anything else. What dies is the character. Their stories, their dramas, their diseases will dissolve into the dust. But you, the observer, the silent witness, the I am, were never born. You were not born when your mother gave birth to you. You have to realize it. You have to stop identifying with the form, the wave, and start identifying with the substance, the ocean. What will you do now? Will you go back to sleep? Will you go back to worrying about the news, about money, about the opinion of neighbors? Your mere presence, vibrating in sovereignty, cracks the matrix around you. Where you step, fear loses power. Where you speak, the lie wavers. Conclusion. The unwritten choice. The central lesson of forbidden metaphysics is not that a single thought controls every event. It is that unconscious patterns become powerful when they remain unnamed. The moment a pattern can be observed, it can be questioned. The moment it can be questioned, a different response becomes possible. Bring the central idea back to ordinary life. Choose one situation in which you usually react automatically. Name the pattern without condemning yourself. Decide what a more conscious response would look like, and practice that response in one small action. A principle becomes useful only when it changes what you notice and what you do. Do not use these ideas to blame yourself for circumstances outside your control, to ignore material conditions, or to replace qualified care. Use them where your agency is real. The meaning you assign, the standards you keep, the language you repeat, the attention you train, and the next action you choose. Seeing the architecture of experience raises a new problem. The observer itself changes according to the level from which it sees. The purpose of this journey is not to replace evidence, professional care, or practical action with belief. It is to make your inner participation visible so that attention, language, emotion, and behavior can become conscious instruments rather than invisible habits.